By the end of this video, my goal is to make it so you feel more confident and more comfortable when it comes to the world of wine. If you clicked on this video, you already know what we're going to be getting into, so let's just dive right into it. Welcome to, or welcome back to 5 Fact Friday, where we share 5 fun facts about a specific whiskey or wine topic, and hopefully you're going to learn something. Today we're talking about what you should know when it comes to the world of wine. My name's Sam, this is Whiskey and Wine, let's go. So like I said, we are going to be talking about what you should know when it comes to wine. This is going to be good for beginners, novices, just good reminders in general. But we have a lot to get through, and I want to keep this to be a little bit of a shorter video because it's Friday. You don't want to be watching too much YouTube. You want to be getting out there doing something. So let's go. Number one, when it comes to wine that you should really know about are going to be the different styles. Now, first, when we talk about wine, we are going to be talking about grape wine. I know there's going to be all these other fruit wines, but when you just see wine, we're talking about grape wine, so that is what we're focusing on. There are going to be 9 different styles of grape wine, or wine, and the way that we talk about them is the way you're typically going to go through it when it comes to a tasting. So you're going to start with sparkling wine, and then you're going to go to your light white wines, or light body white wines. Then you have your medium body white wines, and your full body white wines. From there, you're going to move over to skin contact, and then to your red wines, which again, you're gonna have the same 3 of the light, medium, and full body red wines. And then lastly, we're gonna talk about dessert style wines. So let's start with sparkling wine. When I say sparkling wine, the first thing that pops into everyone's head is actually going to be champagne, because that's the most classic style. It's what we all know, we all see it, cool. But what is sparkling wine? Sparkling wine is gonna be a wine that has some bubbles in it, and all those bubbles are gonna come from a secondary fermentation. That secondary fermentation happens in the bottle, creates those bubbles, and that's what we really enjoy. Cool. Now, when you see champagne, most people are thinking, okay, this is like the best of the best of the best. Sure, yeah, champagne is great, but it is going to be a regional specific style of sparkling wine. There are going to be some other really good sparkling wines out there. You could go look for a cava, you could look for a prosecco, you could also just go look for a California champagne, which is really interesting how they're able to call it California champagne. Fun, nerdy, we're not getting into that. But there are really good sparkling wines everywhere. And there are a lot of really good ones that are just like US based. And honestly, I enjoy those a lot. They might not be as pricey as a champagne, but they're really good. Sparkling wines can also range from being completely bone dry to having a good amount of sweetness and almost tasting like a dessert style wine. Next up, we're going to talk about our light body white wines. Now, when it comes to light body white wines, we're talking about body, and that is going to be a term that gets thrown around a lot. And what does it mean? It is just going to be the viscosity, the thickness, or the mouthfeel of that wine. The flavors that you're going to get here are typically going to be a lot of very bright flavors, a lot of really high acidity. So when it comes to white wines, and really just wines in general, the lighter styles are usually going to have a lot higher acidity. Acidity, sweetness, or sugar level, tannins, and the alcohol level are all going to be contributors when it comes to the body. Higher acidity, typically going to be a lighter style of wine. Now, when it comes to the flavors that you're going to run into, you're going to find things like green apple, yellow apple, lemon, lime, honeydew, saline, and white peach. Just like really bright, light flavors, honestly, and that's kind of how I like to think about it. Some really good examples of these are going to be things like Grenache Blanc, a Sauvignon Blanc, or a dry Riesling. So a Riesling that isn't sweet. And if you're looking for some other options, something like an Albarino, an Acertico, or a Fiano are going to be some really good options that are a little bit off the beaten trail. Now jumping over to our medium body light whites. Saying that super fast, tongue twister a little bit. Medium body light whites.
What did he say?
So in this category, it's a little bit of a gray area to me, and that's mainly because this is where you're gonna have a lot of these wines that could be a full body wine, but they just have a little bit less sweetness or a little bit less tannin on it, or they're maybe more acidic, so it's in the medium, or you're gonna have ones that could be a light body white wine, but they have a little bit more sweetness going on, so it puts it in the medium category. This is gonna be things like an unoaked Chardonnay, or things like a starting to be sweetened Riesling. So a Riesling that's not full on sweet, but it's also not bone dry. Probably gonna be sitting in that medium category. So let's jump over to the full body white wines. Again, here everyone's gonna think of the big boy in the room, Chardonnay. Full disclosure, I do not like Chardonnay that much. I don't like that buttery coconut flavor that you're gonna get out of it. It's not really my thing. But that is going to be an oaked Chardonnay. Unoaked Chardonnay, not so bad. But in this category, you are going to get some really bolder notes when it comes to white wines. You're gonna get things like black cherry, lemon, mandarin orange, beeswax, hazelnut, and sometimes some tea notes as well. Some good examples of these, of course, is going to be Chardonnay, but you could also look for something like a Grüner Veltliner or a Viognier. Completely slaughtered that last one, but they're up here so you guys can see it, because I know my pronunciations are a little bit off sometimes, especially when we're trying to talk quick. But that's going to be it for our white wines. Let's jump over to skin contact. If you notice, I didn't say just rosé, because there are, or is, one other style of skin contact wine besides rosé, and that is going to be orange wine. Now I know a lot of people will go, orange wine, you mean natural wine? Yes and no. There are a lot of natural wines that are orange wines, but there are also going to be some that are red wines and other styles of wines as well. So you don't have to be an orange wine to be a natural wine. All this means, skin contact, is that during the fermentation that we let the skins just have exposure to the juice. And it's removed at some point. It's just a limited amount of skin contact during the fermentation period. So because of that, you're going to get a wide variety of flavors, but in general, think of it like this. If you have an orange wine, so this is going to be a white grape that is allowed to have skin contact, you're going to get these deeper notes out of it from your base white wine. So if you have a white wine that you like, you can expect to get these deeper notes out of your orange wine. On the opposite side though, when it comes to a red wine, if you get that as a rosé, that is usually going to be fresher and brighter than what it is as just a red wine. So if you have one of these wines that you like on a white wine or a red wine, try it as a skin contact. You might find something that you really like. With that, let's jump over to red wines. So first we have our light-bodied red wines. The big boy here that everyone knows about is going to be Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir, super fun. It's usually very light. It's going to have some really good fruit to it, and that is going to be the typical style that you're going to find when it comes to light-bodied red wines. They are going to have a higher acidity, they're going to have these bright fruit flavors, and they're going to be lower in tannins. Some of the flavors that you can expect are going to be things like cherry, raspberry, strawberry, pink grapefruit, orange zest, and white pepper. Another really good option if you don't want to try a Pinot Noir would be a Frappato or a Gamay. Again, going to be some pretty good options that are just a little bit off the beaten path for most people, but again, very good wines. Next up, we have our medium body. Now, again, medium body can be a little bit of a gray area. You have some that are going to be, could be a full-bodied red wine or could be a light-bodied red wine, but something's changed a little bit, so it's sitting in this middle area. Some of the flavors that you're going to get out of here are kind of my favorites, when you're going to start leaning away from these fresher fruit flavors down into these a little bit more earthy vegetal flavors. So you're going to find some things in there like a tomato, like a bell pepper, like oregano, thyme, and maybe some earthier flavors as well, like tobacco or vanilla. One of my favorite versions of this is going to be a Cabernet Franc. I just think it's really interesting, and it's honestly really great as we're getting in the fall, because it's not leaning completely into this big, bold baking spice style of a full-bodied red wine, but you're going to still be getting some really good flavors that kind of lean that way, but it's not full bore just yet. Now jumping into our full-body red wines, these are going to be characterized by, again, obviously full body due to the higher alcohol content and the high tannins that you're going to get here. These are also usually going to be not too acidic either. So these are going to be wines that typically are going to pair pretty well with food, if you ask me. The flavors that you're going to typically get here are going to be more dark, deep fruits, and usually like a fruit that's stewed, so like a stewed strawberry or raspberry. You're also going to get leather, dark chocolate, tea, coffee. All these really just dark, deep notes are typically going to come out of a full-bodied red wine. Classic example of this is going to be Cabernet Sauvignon, one of my absolute favorites, but also you can find this in Zinfandels, you can find it in, honestly, a lot of other styles that are out there, but Cabernet Sauvignon, classic, a lot of people know it. Zinfandel is going to be a little bit different, it's not going to be quite as bold as a Cab Sauv, but there's also going to be some other options out there like Petit Syrah or Nebbiolo, and I highly recommend trying some other big, bold reds if you've only had, say, a Cabernet Sauvignon and just didn't really like it. All right, next up we need to talk about dessert wines, and I apologize if things look a little bit different because I realized post-production that I did not film this, so we came back to film this for you guys. But dessert wines are going to be a really interesting spot because a lot of these dessert wines, they're not going to be this sickly sweet thing that a lot of people think of when you hear dessert. Just not like every dessert is going to be super sweet, not every dessert wine is going to be super sweet. Some of the examples in here are going to be port wine, sherry, Madeiras, or even ice wines. These are typically going to be very viscous, very high-bodied, big-bodied wines, and they're also going to usually have a little bit more alcohol in it because you have a higher sugar content, you can usually get some more alcohol in there and not notice it. The flavors here are going to be a range, but usually if it is a red dessert wine, you're usually going to get some dark notes like a dark chocolate or like some nutty notes. And then if it is a white wine, that is going to be a dessert wine, usually going to get these like candied fruit notes. Not candy fruit, but candied fruit. So you're still going to get all these like very fresh flavors, but just tastes like it's candied. This can be a really fun spot to play around with, especially when you're pairing with desserts, or if you want to use this as your dessert, it can be a really good time. Now, let's move on. So we got through all the styles. That took way too long, did not want to have to take that much time, but it is what you need to know to get started in the world of wine. So if you're still here, I'd appreciate if you could just drop a like down below. Lets me know that you're here, and also consider following. And if there's anything you guys want to know, make sure you drop it down in the comments, and that's how we can really interact with you. Awesome, cool, let's keep rolling. Next up, we're going to be talking about region. Now, region is a thing that I didn't think was super important when I got started, and I could not have been more wrong. Now, it's not just going to be important because certain regions are just making better wine or they have a certain style of how they do it, but it's going to be important because different regions are going to have a different way of growing grapes just because of the weather, the soil, everything. And again, grapes are an agricultural product, which means they rely on the environment that they're in to be able to make a good product. Now, this is very, I guess, specific when it comes to wine, because a cooler weather grape versus a warmer weather grape is going to vastly change how the wine is going to turn out. Now, my favorite way to show this is with some tomatoes. I know it's kind of odd, but this came from Marie Cheslick of Slick Wines, and I think this is a great way to describe this. If you have a cool weather tomato, you're going to get something like this green guy. Now, this is going to usually have a lot more acidity in it. The same is going to go for your wine. If you have something super high in acidity, cooler weather, that's what you're going to get. Now, as you start to move away from that, start to get this deeper color, which is going to give you a deeper flavor. Then lastly, you have your red, which is going to be your warm weather styles. And these guys are usually going to be very bright, have a lot more just flavor bursting out of it, and have lower acidity. If you have a grape that you really like and you like this style, consider trying it from a cooler area as well as a warmer area and see which one you actually like more. And then you have some other regions that you can go try from. So you can just check out, okay, here are my warm regions, here are my cool regions. Let's bounce around, find something a little bit different. Number 3, ordering at a restaurant. This can be something extremely intimidating, especially if people know that you're into wine and they're like, hey, how about you order the wine? And if you're new to wine, or even if you've been in it for a little bit, this can cause some anxiety. Doesn't need to, but even for me still, when Heather and I go out with our friends, family, they're like, oh, hey, you guys pick the wine. I'm like, why? I don't want to think right now. It's not that bad. It's okay. We'll get you through it. Here are some really good tips to help you along your way. And again, you're going to be ordering wine when you're out on business dinners, when you're on a first date, when you're meeting your soon-to-be in-laws, something like that, and you want to kind of impress them a little bit. So these tips are hopefully going to help you a little bit. First one, don't always order the cheapest wine, and then try not to order the second cheapest, because a lot of restaurants were picking up that people were trying to order the second cheapest wine, so they marked it up a little bit higher than it needs to be, because they know that people follow that trick. So what I would recommend doing is have a price cap that you want to go for, and then go somewhere on, usually I go find the middle, and then I go on the bottom side of that middle. So obviously this is not legitimate, but if the cheapest one was $1 for a bottle and the most expensive was $100, I'm probably going to try to spend like $45 somewhere in there. And that just kind of puts you in a spot where there's usually some pretty good wines, but also you're not going to be blowing your complete budget all on that bottle of wine. From there, tip 2, I'd recommend if you can't really figure out what you want to get, just go for a sparkling wine. Sparkling wine is going to pair with just about everything and usually is a crowd pleaser, especially if you're going to be starting out with like multiple courses and you start with a salad or something like that. Having a nice little sparkling wine, it works. Tip 3, know your venue. So if you're at a French restaurant, ordering a French wine, or if you're eating French dish, French wine is probably going to pair the best with that. Same goes for Italian, Spanish. American's a little weird because we just kind of pull stuff from everywhere, but knowing what region you're basically dining out of, getting a wine from that region usually is going to work pretty well. Tip 4, try to pair to the entire meal if you can. So if a lot of people are trying to go for steak, let's just go with steak. Try not to order something that is just for this one person who decided they wanted tilapia. Try to pair this way, or if you can, try to get something like a rosé or a skin contact wine or a sparkling wine, which is going to kind of pair with all of that. But if it's kind of everyone's going this way and everyone kind of wants this one style of wine, go with that style, or consider getting maybe 2 bottles and one that's going to pair with both of those. Doesn't have to be as stressful as trying to get a perfect wine. Just go with majority and go from there. Lastly, tip 5, when in doubt, just ask for help. I do this all the time where I'll go to a restaurant with Heather and they'll bring up the wine menu and we're looking over that, we're looking over the food, trying to figure it out. And I'm like, there's a lot and I don't feel like thinking right now. So I'll usually just be like, hey, this is what we're thinking for food. We typically lean this way when it comes to our wines, but we don't have to have this style. What would you recommend? And the sommelier will just go down the list of it. Okay, hey, this one is going to be pretty good. This one's going to be pretty good, and this one's going to be pretty good. And if they give me 5 options, okay, cool, that's the one I want. And being able just to navigate that situation and that conversation, that is going to be really impressive to a lot of people because it shows that you are taking initiative, but you're also willing to talk with someone and take some feedback from them and then make your decision. So keep that in mind. Number 4, how to read a label when you are shopping. Now, firstly, if you want more help with this, go check out Marie Cheslick's Slick Wine, How to Read a Label. This book is coming out. I believe you can still pre-order it. I got to check it out a little bit while she was working on it, and it is so good and going to be extremely helpful for so many people. I love it. I still need to pre-order mine, so let's all get on this. But it can be very stressful because there are lots of labels, and sometimes you just look at a label and go, oh, this is cool. Like, for example, this label, if it's going to focus, maybe not. This label is awesome. And pretty good wine. Wasn't amazing wine, but it was just good wine. A lot of people are going to buy for the label. But when it comes down to it, you need to be able to read that label and figure out exactly what your wine is going to taste like. So first off, if you see the grape varietal just like on it, if it says Cabernet Sauvignon or Cab Sav, you can assume that it's going to be New World. New World just basically means non-European. And here you're going to get these very bright flavors typically. It's just going to be bursting with flavor. Whereas if you see a region or a location on there, typically this is going to be Old World and it's going to be a little bit of a deeper flavor probably. And it's going to be a little more subdued, but there's going to be more nuance to it typically. Because these are going to be older vines and that's just the kind of the style that they lean towards there. Next biggest tip when it comes to purchasing and you're going to a store, have a price range. Don't just go in being like, I need to find a Cabernet Sauvignon. You're going to be overwhelmed. There are so many that you can look at. But if you give yourself a cap and also a minimum, you're going to have a better idea of what you can look for, and it's going to help you hone in on it a little bit faster. And also, if you ask for help, you can give them that price range, and that's going to help them so much quicker to give you some good options. What you're also going to want to do here is go read the back of the label. That's going to give you a little bit more information about, okay, where is this actually coming from? What type of wine is in this bottle? If they don't tell you on the front, you're also going to see a little spot where it says the importer. The importer is extremely important when it comes to wine because they are usually going to have a certain style that they lean towards. So if you find one that you really enjoy for this importer, try to get some more wines from that importer and you're probably going to find some good ones. Last thing, we're going to talk about storing and serving. So when it comes to having wine, there are some things you kind of want to do and some things you definitely don't want to do when it comes to storing the wine. So let's dive through those real quick. You want to make sure that you have a cool, dry, dark place to store your wine away from light. You're also going to want to make sure you always put the cork back in, especially if maybe you have a glass and you're talking with friends and that bottle's just sitting out for hours and hours and hours. Try to cork it, or even at the end of the night, if you forget, the next morning, well, there goes your wine. So getting a little wine stopper like this can be really useful. You can vacuum seal these, and it works pretty nicely. You also want to keep them at a stable temperature the entire time. You don't want someplace that is fluctuating a ton, because again, that can start to damage the wine. There are specific temperatures you want to keep it at, but I know this is not something that everyone can do. I can barely do that, so that's one you can kind of take with a grain of salt. You want to make sure you don't put this on like the top of your fridge or up on the top of cabinets, anything like that, because heat's going to rise, and again, the temperature is going to be fluctuating a lot up there, which is going to start to damage the wine. You also want to keep this away from the sun, because sun is another thing that is going to damage wine, and it can just make it not taste great, and then there goes a $40, $50 bottle of wine, or an expensive bottle, which that really sucks if you lost an expensive bottle. All right, last part, with serving. When it comes to serving wine, I like to follow the 15-minute rule. What that means is for white wines, I'm going to leave it in the fridge, and then 15 minutes before I want to serve it, I'm going to pull it out and let it sit. And then for red wine, I'm gonna put it in the fridge 15 minutes before I wanna serve it, just to bring that temperature down a little bit. Now you don't have to follow this. There are some wines that I prefer just at room temperature. There are some that I do like a little bit cooler. And as you figure that out, you can start to do those things. But as a starter, when it comes to just figuring out what do I serve this at for the temperature, the 15-minute rule is a pretty good way to do it. Now when it comes to actually opening and serving your wine, you're going to want to get yourself one of these little guys. These are fantastic. I love them so much. They're simple little tools. They work great. Now, if you are someone who can't use one of these, just getting a foil cutter is going to be extremely useful. And then even Heather prefers to use our electric wine opener. It's quick, it works, but sure, you can open a wine a lot faster with this. Now, if you've never used one of these, best way to do it, you're going to want to cut around the bottom of the lip. You don't want to be up here because usually there's going to be foil all around here. And you want to get the foil down as much as you can. So cutting right below this lip, just kind of drag the blade right along. You're going to be able to take that off. From there, it works super simple. You're going to take this, corkscrew it all the way down, go to your first notch, hit it on the second notch, and it's going to pop right out. Some of these are great, some of these are absolute trash. Try to find a good one, because if you get a bad one, it's going to make opening the wine pretty miserable, and it's a little embarrassing when you're sitting there trying to finagle it and it's just not working. The last part about serving is how you are actually going to be pouring your wine. Now, if I just go and I pour this wine, first thing that's going to happen is we're probably going to get dribbles down the side of this. Not that big of a deal. But if I get it on my glass, that sucks, because now the glass is dirty. It's on the outside of it. It's going to be on the tablecloth. It's just, nope, it's not fun. So you'll see me do this a lot where I hold it from the bottom. Now, the reason I do this is because as you're pouring and I come back up, it's pretty easy. I mean, you can do it this way if I'm pouring this way, to rotate the bottle to make it so that it's not going to dribble as much. But if I'm holding it here and then I do that, I'm not hiding the label or anything. It just looks a little bit more elegant to go here and then rotate that way. So that's the main reason for that little rotation, is just to keep the glass clean and then also keep the bottle clean. If you made it this far, I appreciate you so much. I know this was a long one, but there's a lot of really good information in this video. There's a lot more that we can dive into. So if there's something that you want to see when it comes to World of Wine, make sure you drop it down below, and I will be sure to get to that. Anyways, guys, I'm glad you made it here. You've also made it to Friday. We're at the weekend. Cheers to you, and I will see you on Monday.